Hey all, welcome back. Today we're doing another Leetcode question. This is Leetcode 398, random pick index. So let's read the question prompt. So we are given an integer array, nums, and it has possible duplicates. And what we need to do is we need to randomly output the index of a given target number, right? So you can assume that the given target number must exist in the array. So we don't have to make any checks for it. But basically the idea is that by looking at the first example, we are given an input array and then it's gonna pick a specific number. We are guaranteed that this number would be in our input array. And then we need to possibly give out the possible index of it. But since there can be multiple duplicate values in this string, we need to ensure that all possible indices, for example, here 2 to 4 indices correspond to number 3. So we basically need to make sure that all of these indices have an equal probability of being selected, right? So now let's look at number 1 here. For 1, there's only one possible value in our input array, and that exists at index 0. So we have no other option but to output 0, all right? And this explanation basically explains what I just said. So I guess we can skip this and think about how do we want to solve this. Again, this question I want to do in basically the interview fashion, which means we're not going to run this code. We're just going to basically pretend that the run functionality is disabled and just code it through and do a dry run of our question. This is exactly how a technical interview at the big companies, at least the FANGs, is going to go. You won't be able to run your solution and see if you made any errors and go fix it. So you'll need to have a few test cases in mind, and you will need to be able to kind of dry run your code, which basically means you need to reason your way through the code and see how your variables are changing and what result you'll get at the end. So let's get started. Before I start, I'll be honest, I did not prepare for this question. I've done it before, but it's been a while ago, so I don't really remember how to do it. But let's see if we can reason through it under similar circumstances on how you'll see it in an interview. All right, so let's go through it. And the first thing is, obviously, we are given this input array, right? And what we have to do is we are given the input array, and what we can do is we can kind of go through this input array, possibly keep track of the possible indices. For example, here, if I do a pass through the input array, I know that 1 exists at index 0, 2 at 1, and then 3 at 2, 3, and 4. And then once a pick index kind of comes in, what I can do is I can randomly choose one of these. So yeah, that is one simple solution. Again, the complexity of that is going to be, time is going to be n, right? Why is time n? Because we are basically traversing through this entire array. But that is going to be happening the first time, right? We can create this dictionary once and we'll save it, and then we won't be using it after every pick index. And so initialization, I know I'm putting like wrong spelling, but like honestly, in an interview, I wouldn't bother fixing random things. If I have time, maybe I'll go back and fix it, but I wouldn't focus too much on like spelling of initialization. It's more about like putting your thought process into the paper, or like in our case, in a text editor. Since we are not going to be able to run it, it's very easy to miss something important, and it's in your mind, but it's not on the paper, and you won't be able to catch it because, again, you're not going to run it. I mean, you're going to dry run it, but it's going to take more time, right? So let's save up on our time as much as we can. Okay, so initializing is going to take time complexity of big O of n. And then after each call, I'm going to be doing random.choice. I think the way it works is it's just I think it's a O of one operation, because since it's just like you're just choosing any random, it might have some overhead, but overall it's O of one operation. So that's the case, and our space complexity is also going to be O of n, because obviously we are saving this entire thing, this hash map in our space. All right, so O of n time complexity for initialization, O of 1 almost for each subsequent calls of pick, and then space complexity is O of n, because we're going to be saving this hash map. So now I'm just thinking, can I improve on this, right? I know there is a similar question of like weighted probabilities or random probabilities. The way it does is it will create a weights class, and so it will create like something similar to a prefix array but with weights, and then you can do a binary search on top of it for each pick. This is not this question, but like these two questions are kind of along the same line, so I was just thinking of that. But again, like I think our solution is better because it's simpler, it's cleaner, and it's also like the time complexity for picks is going to be less than the binary search, right? So I'm gonna go ahead with this. I know there's another solution with reservoir sampling, but what that does is the pick is going to be O of n there, and again, we don't do any initialization, and space complexity for that is going to be O of n, O of 1 as well, because we don't really need to save any additional data structures like a hash map in that case. But again, that is kind of confusing. I find that solution to be a bit confusing. We can try writing it out, but basically for the reservoir sampling one, the idea is that probability of getting this 3 the first time we go through it, and again for each pick you're gonna do this, basically gonna run the same algorithm, O(n) of O big O of n complexity algorithm every time you do a pick. Yes, so this is going to be better if we are short on space and small number of picks. And then this one is a better solution if mem is not an issue, and we will have tons of picks. Tons of pick operations. So again, it kind of like depends on what exactly do you want your algorithm to do, and this should be able to do it. Okay, so I am going to be coding this one up now, right? So we can have two things, def pick index. Actually, let's do a class. Def pick index class, and what is it going to do? It's going to have a def init. Obviously, I always spell this wrong, so yeah, at least I'm getting some type hints, which by the way, you should disable all of your type hints to simulate the interview environment. Okay, and in case I have my def init, I am going to be passed a input array here. So this is going to be nums, and what I want to do is I want to have a self dot nums dic nums dic, and I can just do a list comprehension, n for n in nums. I for I and enumerate nums, because we also need our index. Okay, I am not sure if this is going to take care of the duplicate case all by itself, but assuming it will, syntax check required. We'll come back to that. Because if we have time, right, we would just won't use dict comprehensions, we'll just write it out. Okay, in any case, at the end of this, we're going to have a nums dictionary, and it's going to look like this. And then let's just write our pick, the pick. The pick is going to get a 3. So this is going to take a self. And if self and target, we are guaranteeing that the target exists in nums.dict, so let's just call it directly. So here, and I'm gonna query the target. So then I'll have a list of indices, and what I want to do is I'm gonna return random.choice of our possible values, and that is going to be it. This is it for our solution. Okay, now that is done. Again, going back to this particular solution, I am not sure how it works, but it's like the idea is simply okay, so what are we doing here? What we are going to do is we are going to go through entirety of nums, right? And if target is equal to n, in that case, again, sorry, we also need I here. So let's just make sure we have access to I using enumerate. Okay, so if target equals n, what do I want to do is probability can be calculated as, first thing we are going to do is count plus equals 1, because as you know, for probabilities we need to have a count of possible values, and this is going to be the probability of selecting a particular index is inverse of the count, right? So if the count is 3, probability of picking a given 3 is going to be 1/3, right? If the count is 4, then it's going to be 1/4. This is basic simple probability. And what are you going to do about this is just simply like keep an eye on the count and on the index, I guess. So keep an eye on the count, and what you want to return is, okay, I know the probability is going to be 1/count. But what do I return? I don't know. if you don't mind, I'm gonna go check this out, because obviously something is happening that I don't know how to do it. And I know in the actual code you won't be able to do it, but like we already solved it using the brute force way, so that is okay. All right. I am back. So what it does is, so we have a probability now, and what we're going to do is we're going to calculate a random number, and if a random number modulo count is equal to 0, um, which basically means this condition. So if that happens, that means we're in a given so that just means that we are in a given probability. And if that happens, then obviously we are going to set I res I as I, and then in the end, we are gonna return res I. Okay, so what exactly this condition did? This condition is creating a random integer, right? And yeah, so it just created a random integer. So going from 0, I think, to integer max value, and then it is moduling it with count, however many counts we have seen so far. And if that is equal to 0, then what we do is then we're choosing that particular index as our return, right? So the first time in this case I see a 3, count is 1, whatever modulo there is divisible by 1, and so this condition checks out, and in this case res will be whatever I that is. So in our case 0, 1, 2, it's going to be 2. But in second case, as we kind of continue, my count has increased, and then whatever count I do, it's either going to be even or odd number, right? So what I can do is if it's even, choose this, if it's odd, choose that. So the probability of choosing these two is 50%, right? And in the third case, what's going to happen is, again, probability is going to be 1 over count. So this condition basically maps this probability, right? So once that condition exists, we can choose the res as it is, and depending on however the dice rolls, we in the last case we're basically going to have a 1/3 chance that this 3 is chosen, this 3 is chosen, this 3 is chosen. And as we kind of like process more and more of our input arrays, the probability will shift, and as such the chances that whatever I is chosen in the res changes as well. So once we are done, we'll just return that res. So like obviously here we're not really saving anything except these variables and also the input strings, but we don't need to count input string as additional storage space, right? Because we need it. So we'll have that, and so obviously like space complexity of 1 and pick index is O of n. So it makes sense if we are short on space, but we are only need to make a few number of pick operations, right? So yes, so that makes sense, but just making sure that um, our class is defined properly. We expect a solution class. It's going to take a nums array, right? And then the pick is going to take a target value, so self.target. So I think it should work. And that is all from my side. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm not going to run this, obviously, because, well, you know what? I know we won't run this in the interview, but let's try checking how good we do. So what, you know what? I'm going to run it in Leetcode, and hopefully we didn't make a boo-boo. But yeah, but it happens even if we made it. But yeah, like in the actual interview, people are probably not going to care too much about your syntax. It's more about your problem solving and things like that. So okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to share I'm going to share the Leetcode window. So this is the Leetcode window. I had it opened, and I'm just going to copy paste the entire thing that we did in here and hope for the best, actually. So let's run it. Take tube O. There should be a self. Enumerate spelling issue. You know what, I type learn. What? Print, because remember we weren't sure if the syntax is correct here, so let's do that. Okay, yeah, so this is obviously not correct. Okay, I'm not gonna use this. Okay, for and nums. Like I'm sure there's a way to do it with default its and everything, and honestly, I don't like in an interview. I think I'll be too panicked to do it. So for I and n in enumerate nums if and n numstick. So I'm just gonna get access to it and then append I to it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna create a new value and put it in a dictionary. All right. All right, the solution is accepted. Let us remove the print statement and submit it to ensure it worked. And it did. Awesome. And now let's try our other solution. So we know we need to put the self here. And yeah, let's try it. Name solution not defined. We did not fix it in every case. Okay. Rand is not random. It's random dot random. So this solution is not correct. I'm gonna try playing around with it a little bit, but not sure what the issue is. Yeah, because obviously this is division by 0. Wait. So the count is 0. Why is the count 0? Okay, let's see. Print and target. This shouldn't be 0. We are guaranteed that there will be a match. One, two, three, three, three. One, two, three, three, three. What? What is going on here? Oh, okay. I see. So before we do a return, I'm gonna put another statement here so we can basically distinguish between different executions of pick index. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. What? This is extremely weird. Yeah, that's okay. Probable Yeah, I also just want to see what's the value in prob. You know what? I think random.random gives a value between 0 and 1. Fucking knew it. Okay. I think it's probably something called randit, but I'm just gonna do a syntax check. Python get a random int. Or honestly, what I could do is here. Is greater than 1 over count. Actually, no, it's probably not gonna work. Random. Modulo count. I swear to God, if this doesn't run. Why don't I just do it between 0 and count? Mm. One and count, and if probability equals one, this shouldn't be from probably, it should be called chance, I guess. Um, okay, so summative. Removed a print. Let's go again. Where is the print? Oh, sorry. Okay, let's go. Time limit exceeded. So I don't know what I can do with this. So obviously there's a timing issue. So from that, we know that our first solution was better. But in any case, we have two solutions, and it's probably a good thing we tried to run it. But the key thing to notice is I had syntax errors. I have some minor mistakes here and there, but I didn't really change the algorithm that much, right? Like I'm still calculating the chance. Yes, like random.random is something else than I thought it would be. But basically, now I'm calculating a number between one and count like this instead of just choosing any particular random integer and then modulating it with count. So even now, like my chance is going to be 1 in 3, right? So yeah, so that like basically we're choosing if I'm going to do the first, second, or the third, what you call it, first, second, or third 3 that I'm using. And obviously, like the number is going to be different across different times. It's just like if you keep calling it n number of times, your probability distribution should kind of, it should kind of be like all three threes have equal chance, right? Yeah, so that is pretty much it. That's like the main thing that I wanted to focus on was since you wouldn't have access to the run editor, you gotta be able to like think about what can go wrong, what could go right. If you don't know a particular syntax during the interview, it's good to kind of just mention that, like, I'm not sure what the syntax is, but like, this is what I'm trying to do. Because finding the syntax is the easiest part of coding. With AI, with Stack Overflow, no one, a good programmer doesn't mean that they know the syntax of all the job. Yes, If you keep using a particular language over and over, it's a good chance that you're going to remember it. But like if you stop coding for like 2 days, you're going to forget some things, right? Like that's okay. The key thing to focus on is the like your problem solving, the way you think about solving a problem, the trade-offs you make, and how do you decide which solution is the best, like how we did with this solution, right? Like we already know that this particular solution would like this particular solution would only work if we are doing pick operation less number of times. But for something like this, we keep picking and picking and picking and picking, obviously it's not going to work. We knew it wouldn't work, right? So yeah, that's all I had to say about say about it. Just focus on your algorithms, focus on the way you convey that, and minor issues should be fine. All right, that is all from my side. I know this was a really long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it and probably learned something from it. If not, we'll try it in the next one. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye.